Episode
Hello.
38 of Infosec to Insanity. Is that the name of this podcast? Are we still going with that name?
I think so.
So
I
I'm
think it's
outside.
working.
I'm outside today because I didn't want to be inside.
I think it looks lovely.
It is lovely. Yeah, the sunset over there. You can't see it. None of the viewers can see it, but it's over there. My wife's over there. She's watching television. She's got an addiction. Maybe we'll have her on the podcast and talk to her about television
Sh-
addiction,
you did have her on. You talked about life stuff.
life stuff. We didn't talk
hmm
about our television addiction.
I was actually there when you guys were doing it.
This episode brought to you in part by LaCroix.
Lac- LaCroix. We would love some LaCroix.
We
LaCroix.
would love. Do you drink this?
Mm-mm.
Mm,
Tastes too sparkly to me.
it is sparkly.
If I drink, I need like a soda or an energy drink. Like, give me some sugar.
Right. All right. So the topic for tonight's episode is what is it, Matt? Tell us.
The topic is real help looks like.
What does it look like?
Yeah, so in your blog from when did you write this? This is a while ago. We're
Yeah, it
we're
is.
like behind on you're farther on the writings than we are on the recordings, but it
Well, that's
looks like
because you release a couple of writings every I don't know every
day,
I
hour,
don't know
minute.
couple of week, couple times a week, and then we only do the podcast recording once a week. So,
Yeah,
but this
it's
is
okay.
what number 8 of 11.
Entry 8. Yep.
Yeah, so this all came about from Mental Health Awareness Month, I guess. There was a month, May. That's almost 2 months away now. But
Yeah, that's crazy. We're
mental health,
keeping it going though. We don't care about 1 month. It's got to
no,
go longer.
right. And mental health, I mean, yeah, mental health is a thing we got to keep an eye on all the time. And man, my eyes are red. Did my eyes look red to you right now?
Uh,
Bloodshot?
they do. Yeah.
That's because I was in the pool. The pool's over there.
You're
I should do
swimming.
we should do
It's
an
good.
episode from the pool.
Yes, that'd be cool, man. Like just prop it up on the. It'd be cool to
What's
put
that?
the camera floating in the pool,
All right.
and then the camera facing you as you're facing the house, so the
Mhm.
view is on the backside,
All
looking
right.
out. That'd be
Yeah, we could do
legit.
that.
Yes.
Yeah,
When I
because you've
come
been here.
down,
You've been here how many times? 4
4 or 5,
times. Yeah, because
four
you
or
really don't
five.
get like. We need to figure out a way to set it up to where you can get like the full kind of effect because it's really really pretty. Like that sunset right now that I'm looking at, like right over there.
Yeah, right in the corner there.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's like
hmm
there's clouds. It's rainy season now, so the clouds are yeah, it's beautiful. And you're going to see some bugs coming probably later because
Some
we have the lights on outside. And
some
when rainy
geckos
season
on the
hits,
wall.
yeah, they're not out yet.
I
But
don't
yeah,
see any right now, but
oh,
yeah.
there's one up there. Oh, there's one up there. Yeah, they're coming out right now. It's time to feast. So yeah, so every one of these blog posts is about my own personal experiences and struggles, and I remind everybody on every one of these that I'm not by any means a mental health professional. But I think when you share these things that you've gone through yourself, people can, pick up on it. Like this is being transparent, it's real, and maybe it relates to you. Maybe it's something that helps you cope with something you're going through or something, you have gone through in the past. You know, we all got it. We all got mental. Well, I mean, those of us who have brains, right?
I would agree that just talking about what we're going through, what our experience is, can provide value.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Oh, there's a bug that just dropped like right there, dude. This is gonna get crazy. We're gonna get like bugs. Like there was an elephant beetle. Like I don't know who was in the house at the time. We always have people here, pretty much. But there was an elephant beetle, and I swear it was the size of my fist. It was
When I
huge.
was down there, I think it was the second time. There was a beetle. It was on its back underneath your chair out there, and it was like flopping around.
How
Like
big was it?
it was probably like this big.
Yeah, bugs are
Oh,
huge. I mean, we're in the jungle, so yeah, you're gonna get some big ass bugs. We've had like two, no, three scorpions in the house, a couple of
nice.
tarantulas, a few snakes. Yeah, there was a big snake like a month ago. I just went to bed because it was outside. It was just right here in the patio on this side of the glass. And Lydia was here and she was freaking out. She's like, "What if it gets in the house?" I'm like, "It's not going to get in the house." And then Juan, our maintenance guy, he came and killed it in the morning. I think bled a
You,
lot. There was a lot of blood on the floor. I
you
mean,
just locked yourself in the room and waited for him to come.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's used to that stuff. All right, so tonight is real help looks like, and what we're going to talk about is, for me, what real help has been, in the past. There's certain things that help that work really well, and there's certain things that just don't. It makes the problem worse. And I know I have I have friends. You know, I always have friends that are struggling at various points with mental health things because I'm really transparent with my friends, and they're really transparent with me. And so some of them are in the middle of something right now. Some of them have just kind of been through something, still kind of managing it. But there's some common themes about what helps and what doesn't. And one of my fears that when I encounter, somebody who's got a mental health thing that I've never experienced myself, I have no experience with, I get really fearful about doing anything because sometimes it's pretty fragile. You know what I mean? You don't want to say something and make it worse. And sometimes being silent makes it worse. I mean, sometimes you're kind of in this catch 22, like, I don't know what to do. So sometimes it's almost like you have to go seek help to give help kind of thing.
Do you think? Mm, do you think that it's possible, like at some point, you like might care too much
Yeah,
about the outcome, and at the end of the day, it's still like anything that happens is still the other person's choice. So it's almost
right.
like I'm hearing you say sometimes you don't want to help or you don't know how to help, but it's almost like you're trying to put pressure on yourself at that
Yeah.
point.
Well, have you ever found like you've tried to help friends through mental health issues? I assume. Yeah.
A little bit. I'm a little bit not as seasoned as yourself.
That's just because I'm old, dude. It's nothing special.
I just said
But
seasoned, man. I'm trying to be nice.
old, fat. Speaking of fat, I just went to the doctor yesterday, and I have a thing in Mexico is there's not really a lot of political correctness or that passive aggressive thing.
He
So
was
my
like,
doctor,
"You look awesome."
no, so my doctor just came straight out and said, "You're fat." I'm like, that's awesome. Like, what should I do
Thanks
about it?
for being polite.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. I'll tell you more about that
All right.
offline. All right, so before we get going, let's do the what the fuck happened this week.
All right. What the fuck did happen?
What the fuck happened this week? So my first one is Intel broker.
Oh, I did not. I missed that one.
Intel broker busted $25 million data heist. So Kai West, aka Intel broker, has been charged in the United States for leading the boys, quote unquote. A 32-member hacker crew, they stole data from over 40 companies, netting $25 million in damages and attempting to sell it for roughly $2 million on the dark web. Allegedly, behind the breaches behind breaches at Europol, Cisco, and Apple. Extradition from France is in motion. He faces a 20-year prison term.
That's crazy. So they're just saying one person then?
Well, this was the leader, one of the leaders.
And it looks like they're tying it back to breach forms then.
Yeah,
So for people that are like entering the industry and stuff that hear all this craziness about like the dark web and all that stuff, like breach forms is on the regular internet.
On the internet
Like
webs.
you don't have to be on the dark web. Like a lot of the stuff just happens normal, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you've got the internet, and
Yes.
on the internet is the web, the normal web,
Yes.
which is indexed, the things that you use every day.
Dictionary of the internet.
Right. And then there's an unindexed version of the web, which isn't the dark web. I don't know what they call that anymore. I can't remember.
Deep web, I think they
Deep
call it
web.
now.
All
Yeah.
right. And then the dark web is, another segment of the internet that's been sort of blocked off and segmented out.
I
And
try
that's,
to tell
usually
people
the
that the
Tor network, something like that, if you want to call it that.
when I tell people like the dark web, it's really like, okay, you know how you go to Google and Google's always turned on? Like the dark
Right.
web, they can
Right.
turn their site off. Like it's not always online, it's not always published. Sometimes you go to the link and it's off.
Well, and it's not
Um,
accessible without going through,
the other protocol, yeah,
right, another network.
yeah.
All right. Another one, Hawaiian Airlines hit by cyber attack. A digital breach knocked out some IT systems at Hawaiian Airlines, likely ransomware. Thankfully, flights remained unaffected. The FAA is watching and fixes are underway. The lack of official communication, they actually replied via Gmail.
Hmm.
It doesn't help their cred. But I'm kind of impressed that the fact that it knocked out some of their IT systems but affected no flight, that tells you that they've got some network segmentation, some best practices in place there to keep those sides of the business separated.
Well, so I mean that's even more interesting because remember, flights were affected when the CrowdStrike thing happened.
Oh
So
yeah.
that obviously isn't segmented. So it's I really would be interested to see what a airline network looks like.
We can look at some later if you want.
Yeah, so I mean that's interesting if there's ransomware and it's not impacting flights. Is it just their website or what?
Yeah, I think
Guess we'll
their
never
their
find
back
out.
their back office systems. Well, there's more data about it if you Google it, and there'll be more that comes out over time because chances are it affected somebody and somebody's going to sue and there'll be a discovery and whatever. All right, the third, Kaspersky slipped into Aussie infrastructure despite a 2017 advisory and last February's ban. Some Australian government and critical infrastructure sites were still using Kaspersky. The Department of Home Affairs, which is in Australia, flagged it as a critical failure and demanded better auditing.
It didn't just slip in. Get out of here.
It was advised in 2017 and it was banned last February.
Yeah. I remember that coming out because they're like, oh, the Kremlin's right next door. Don't use it. Okay.
Right.
I blocked it.
What does it tell you about Australia's asset management?
Oh, they don't know what they have.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they're still finding stuff 9 years later that it's running it. I mean, to me, I don't think your asset. I mean, this is just me. Any place I've been, asset management isn't that bad. I think someone like would have recently put it on there, breaking whatever rule law they had in place.
Yeah.
But it's possible the other
Right.
way.
And number four, Gen AI, double-edged sword in cyber. Google's Heather Adkins highlights how generative AI empowers both attackers and defenders. India is leading the pack in deploying Gen AI for cyber defense. Smart moves in a heated global cybersecurity arms race. I was interested in this one because I would never think India is leading anything
All right.
with tech, but the fact that they are, according to Google, Heather Adkins, an executive at Google, India is leading the pack in deploying Gen AI for cyber defense.
Well, I mean, to what you say a lot, or what I've heard a lot, is who's telling the message.
Yeah,
It's coming from
consider
Google.
consider the source.
Yep, it's coming from Google for a reason. So I would imagine they're deploying something of Google, which would mean what is it, Mandiant, right? They're owned by Google now, so they're deploying some sort of Google security services. They're selling. That would be how I would view that.
Yeah,
That's just me. I'm just a
no,
person.
I agree with that, man. I do agree with that. All right, five. Iran linked cyber flurry after U.S. strikes on. We knew this was going to happen. I think we
Oh,
talked about it last
we
week
did.
or the week
Yeah.
before.
Hmm.
After U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, Iran-backed hackers launched DDoS and other cyber attacks targeting U.S. banks, super funds, excuse me, and defense contractors. DHS and CISA are on alert. Meanwhile, the U.S. warns its companies to prep for more Iranian cyber threats.
Makes sense.
It's the state of the state
I
right
mean,
now.
what can you do? You can geo block, but that's not gonna. Everyone knows that's only like this much of the thing, but
Right.
you should at least do it.
Yeah, most of the work I do is from a system that's hosted in the country that I'm doing it.
Seems the most logical thing
Right.
to do.
So
So
it
it's
is.
not
I mean, it
hard.
is as simple as just setting up a VPS, a virtual private server, in Seattle, and then them launching things from that. So yeah, geo blocking will be limited in its effectiveness, but if you've done a pretty good job at your normal, cyber hygiene, these aren't going to be super sophisticated attacks unless you happen to be a government entity that is a really specific target.
Right.
But if you're following best practices and keeping an eye on what's going on and looking at your network traffic, hopefully running a firewall the way it's supposed to be run, ingress and egress, you'll stand a pretty good chance of just it's just another day in the office. You're just seeing more data. There's not much you can do about it. You just kind of have to. I mean,
Accept it.
yeah, buck up and take it. But that was expected. And if you work in banking, defense contractors, something like else, I'd be interested to hear what you're seeing uh, in our sensors. So we just deploy. Have you ever, hello, Teapot? Have you ever used Teapot before?
Mm-mm.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout. It's an open source, I guess, threat collection honeypot system. But you can set them up pretty easy and set them up, sort of everywhere and emulate certain things and capture certain types of traffic.
Hmm.
So Teapot, are you looking it up?
I am. I've heard of honeypots, and like I know vendors have some honeypots, and they're probably all just rip-offs of this, I would imagine.
Yeah, maybe. But if you're ever interested in just seeing a difference, you can certainly just stand up a couple of virtual private servers, install Teapot, and take a look yourself at the differences in network traffic because they're also not super discerning. A lot of the state sponsored, it's usually a spray and pray kind of, unless you are again one of those very specific targets, a high value target. It'll be a lot of spray and pray kind of stuff. So you'll pick something up from Iran. All right, number six, pro-Russian DDoS at NATO summit. This was really interesting. The Dutch
Ooh.
National Cybersecurity Center reported DDoS attacks by the no name 057 16 group against Dutch municipalities tied to the NATO summit. Thankfully, there was no disruption to core services. So, pretty ineffective attack, but
It's a
if
pretty large like group to
right.
target.
And there was that other. What was the? Holy crap! I should have put this on our list today. But there was the. Oh man, it was multiple terabits per second. 7, 9, terabits per second DDoS attack.
That was something that Google had like 2 years ago or something, right?
No, it was recent. There was another one that was recent.
Mm.
See if you can Google it. All right, and then of course the 16 billion password entries leak is still
7.3 terabytes. Cloudflare.
Cloudflare. When was that? That was last week, wasn't it?
7 days. Yep. Damn, you're on top of shit, man.
Yeah, but I forgot to add it to our list to talk about.
Well, did you see the Canada thing?
Tell me more.
Salt typhoon compromising Cisco routers in Canada. This is
Hmm.
2 days ago.
No.
Canada says they caught, well, Canada and the FBI. Salt typhoon was targeting Canadian telecom. Well, I mean, they just took over all of ours, so that would be expected.
Right.
Abusing a flaw from 2023.
No, it's only 2 years old.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just so fucking dumb. These articles. Oh, it was a exploit that was a 0 day. Dude, that's 2 fucking years old. Ain't a 0 day.
Well, the vulnerability is, but the exploit, right?
Whatever.
Crazy.
Patch your shit.
Well, that's the thing, right? At what point, you and I talk a lot about accountability, and I started writing something, I think yesterday, about accountability, and I had four kind of key points. Um, One is, and we've talked about these things, but when you think about the root causes of why there's shit for accountability in our industry, because other people, believe it or not, there'll be people that will argue that there is accountability in our industry, which
Hmm.
I don't know
I'd like to
where
have
that.
that conversation.
I would love to have that
Mhm.
conversation too. But the fourth key reasons, I think, and maybe we'll talk about this in another podcast, is number one, it doesn't hurt enough yet. So people aren't generally going to change things unless you get their attention and it hurts. And then it's like, oh shit, I'm actually going to change my password now because that hurt. The second reason is it's not an election issue.
Oh yeah, it'll never be.
I mean, when you look at the top 10 election issues, cybersecurity is not on the list. It's not even in the top 10, which is surprising, especially when you work in this industry and you see what you see. You're like, how can this not be at least in the top 10? I mean, I'm not expecting it to be number one. Number one will always be probably around economics, money, paying bills, uh, but not even in the top 10. It's crazy. The third reason is lawyers.
Yeah. Mm.
Lawyers don't want to change this, believe it or not, because they make a shitload of money. When you think about all these big data breach settlements that happen, from, I mean, billions of dollars, the cut for the legal team in those class action lawsuits is typically about 35%. So I li- I would like this to continue the way it is because it's a cash train, right?
Well, so this is interesting. You're talking about like why it's not a priority. The New York Post just did an article 2 days ago where they're claiming tech executives say cyber attacks are number one on, or cyber threats are the biggest challenge to their business in the next 10 years. 64% of top 1,000 C suite executives.
That's a classic example of consider the source.
Yeah.
Who sponsors the study and how do they question, because and while that might be true, that's different than an election issue.
Right, but
It's
so
and
like
it's
if
different from because the only way you're going to get the laws to change is if you change the laws, and those are made by your legislators.
Mhm.
If it's not an election issue, they're not going to do it. Now, lawyers, they're a huge lobbying group. I mean, they could, and most if you look at how many,
they could change shit overnight.
right, but there's no need to. And then the fourth reason is big tech itself.
Oh,
they're making an assload of money exactly the way things are. Don't mess with it. Don't change it.
Hmm.
If we
Just
actually
keep
had
increasing prices.
actually had people who used a firewall the way it was supposed to be used, you wouldn't need, you know, three-quarters of the software you have in your environment to try to stop attacks. I mean, you could. I mean, defense in depth is always nice, but you stop it at the door.
Hmm.
So I was thinking about writing that series. Maybe I'll do that because it's. I think when you think it through and you're like, man, yeah, why would they change it? Why would we change the status quo when most people don't care? I mean, most people, John. I mean, they can say they care, but most people don't care. If you did care, you would do things a lot differently. And I don't blame you for not caring because you're not suffering any consequences from it.
You're just making money.
Yeah. So I mean, mom and dad, when you're just buying new tech gadgets for your kids and plugging them into the network, you know, you may not suffer much of any consequence. Even if that system is compromised and used as a bot in like a DDoS attack or something like that, you're not going to suffer from that. You wouldn't even know it. Whoever was targeted will suffer from it.
Yeah.
They might they might care and do something
But
about it.
yeah, you're just caught up in it.
Yeah,
You're not.
and
Yeah.
and oftentimes without even knowing it.
Hmm.
You know, it's crazy. Anyway,
Well, yeah, we keep making more and more OT, IoT, connect fucking everything. So like each device doesn't have to do like hardly any traffic. So your any possibility to identify being caught up in it is gonna get smaller and smaller.
right. And so and that's when you ask like what should be black and white answers, binary questions and answers, yes, no. Like, is not having an asset inventory, is that negligent? I would say yes. You would say yes. However, it's not the case. Depends on who's arguing the case.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it'll get settled out of court anyway, right? It won't go to a jury where these things actually end up setting some sort of precedent that we can follow. So we still sit here and question, well, is it or is it not?
It should be a jury of fucking tech people, not normal people.
Well, it should just be a jury that should be able to hear out the case, because truly a lot of these things don't go to trial. They don't go to a jury. They usually get settled out of court. And it's usually a negotiation that happens like, well, because the company, that if they were the ones who, are being sued, they don't want it to go to court because then it goes through the discovery process and you're going to find out about a whole bunch of things about the
Them.
stupid decisions they made.
Yeah.
So they want to settle. The lawyers,
They
on
want
the,
quick, easy money.
well, I mean, easier, right?
Yeah.
For sure. So then you never get this precedent of like, okay, is that negligent or not? I mean, what case law can we go back to and say, well, yeah, that's negligent? Or like having single factor authentication on the internet, should that be negligent? It's like, hell yeah, it should be. I mean, how long have we
Yeah.
been dealing with this? Why are phishing attacks still the number one way entry into any network? Because lots of people are still not securing things with multi-factor authentication or just turning them off. You don't even need it on.
Hmm.
So anyway,
But when you get outside the security realm, they're like, "Well, that's not how people are gonna use it." Well, stop thinking about how they're supposed to use it. Like that's what you're paying me for. Is thinking about how it's not gonna be used, and then you're not gonna listen to me. Like that's the definition of insanity.
right. Well, you hear a whole bunch of things about, when you talk about is this negligent or not, what you usually get from the legal communities, well, it depends. Well, it depends on what? Because obviously we don't want to be negligent. Nobody wants to be held personally liable for things, but we make a lot of shitty choices and nobody's suffering consequences except for the community, but it's spread out so wide, like across a large population of people, that they don't feel the pain personally. Because the company that ends up paying the, let's just say hypothetically it's a $50 billion, which that would be a big one, a $50 billion settlement. They pay the $50 billion. What do you think they do next? They try to figure out how they're going to recover the $50 billion.
Increase prices on something.
Exactly. Increase fees, increase prices, things like that. So eventually it gets passed down to whoever the customer was.
You think that's why my Netflix doubled in like the last 5 years?
Well, it certainly didn't double because technology got more expensive.
That's true.
I mean, bandwidth is cheaper than it's ever been.
Yeah,
Storage is cheaper than it's ever been. What things do you need to deliver streaming media to people? You need storage and bandwidth.
yeah. Not much
It's not
else.
like I got a whole bunch of new features on Netflix I didn't have before. I mean, I might have some new movies and series and things like that, but
They just rotate that shit out. It's like a click and drag, probably.
yeah. So yeah, they raise prices. Well, they're always going to raise prices because they have a return that they have to provide to their investors. Investors, every investor wants things to continue to go up. The only way you can get things to continue to go up is charge more for the existing shit you have or sell new shit. Yeah, it's
Netflix
crazy.
ain't selling new shit.
Not really. No. All right.
All right. Wow.
Real help looks like dot dot dot. So you and I have been in bad spots, I assume. I know I have. And I think of looking back at history, what's helped me get out of those things? What's made things worse for me? And we're going to talk about next week. I think it's masculinity or and mental health, because we've already talked about the strong people in your life and everything. I think we've already debunked the fact that you not seeking help isn't a sign of strength. That's, if anything, that's a sign of weakness, because you're afraid of what people might think of you. You're afraid that, well, if I ask somebody for help, they're not going to think I'm as strong as I was. When in reality, if you go and ask for help, I think you show more strength than weakness, because you're honest with yourself. And point to one person on the planet that doesn't have mental health challenges. I'm not saying that they have mental health diagnoses, that they've got, they need treatment or something like that. I'm just saying, just struggles. There are days when it's hard. There's days when shit isn't going right, like on anything. There's days when things are going awesome everywhere, but then maybe you've got an anxiety problem. And so even though things are going great, you're not really taking it in and enjoying it because you're a little anxious about what might happen tomorrow. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that goes on in our minds, and we fool ourselves into justifying just about anything. So the one thing, some of the things that don't help me, and I God bless the people that try to help, because I also have to recognize that even though what you did to try to help me didn't help, it might even made it worse. I have to recognize the fact of where you're coming from. You're trying to help me. It's coming from love. And so I'm not, this isn't a condemnation of anybody who's tried to help somebody and said the wrong thing, did the wrong thing. No, it's more like tips, like things that have worked for me in the past and things that have not worked for me in the past. So tired of hearing the same advice. So I'm just going off the blog post, because it reminds me of where I was at in my mind when I wrote that. Um, because that's another thing for like therapy. If you want to try something therapeutic, try writing. It really, really helps. That's one of the reasons why I write as much as I do, is because it makes me process it. Whatever I'm feeling, like I got to process. I got to think about it. I got to, make sense of it. I have to explore it. I have to, and then you have to get it out. And you get it out on a piece of paper or on a computer. And so that's one of
I've
the things
been
that I use for therapy.
I've been resisting journaling my entire life. I can't stop now.
My wife is actually going to start her own blog.
Sweet.
I think because she's seen the benefits that I've experienced from writing my own,
That's
and
cool.
uh, and I think she would like the same. Because when I write, I don't write for an audience. I write for me. I mean, it may sound selfish, but that's the truth. I write for me. It's my own expression of what's inside of me getting out. And if nobody likes it, I don't give a shit. That wasn't really part of the process. I'm not seeking validation because I think that can be a double-edged sword, right? Because you start setting expectations that you're going to get a certain number of likes, a certain number of comments, a certain number of reposts of your shit. And then when you don't get it, you're like, what the fuck? Why didn't you like that stuff? I really liked that and nobody else liked it.
That is, it's so hard not to do. But it's, and I found that the
It
truth
bugs.
too, like, is if you write a post, LinkedIn, whatever, and then just put it out there, it seems to get more traction than if I'm checking on it every 5 minutes.
Right.
But not doing that is hard because, well, it's addictive. There's a red thing, there's a button, there's a
Right.
like, there's a thing. So yeah,
There was
I agree.
A Netflix documentary.
Social dilemma.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yep. About
it's a
that
good
very
one.
same thing and how you can really get tripped up in that. And I mean, because
Hmm.
everybody, when you post something, anybody who tells you that they never check to see how many likes they have is a liar
I would agree.
because everybody does. I don't, I call bullshit if you don't. I do, but it's how much value I put into it. Like, okay, I got 21 likes on this post. This other one, I got 210 likes. All right, that's interesting. Do I care? Probably not. I mean, I think I would care more if I was trying to sell you a product because then I'd want to know why I got 210 on this one, why only 20 on this one, because I need to do more of that one and less of this one.
Right.
That would be the only reason why I would care, really. Uh, the one that got 21, did I get the value that I was seeking out of it, which was getting shit off my chest? Did I get the mental
Yeah, your
break I was looking
value
for?
isn't in who or why you're getting the feedback. Your value is doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, and so that requires, I'd written a post a while back about these six circles. They're most of the people, by far, most of the people, I don't give a shit what they think about me. Jesus, my wife, my family, my close friends, my coworkers, my acquaintances, and everybody else. So in that everybody else bucket, I don't really give two shits really. Unless it's a large number of people, then it's indicative of maybe I did something wrong. But it's it's in that order. So if my wife tells me, "Oh my God, what you did was the best thing ever," and then one of my friends tells me, "Dude, I hated that shit you did," I don't care. I care. I mean, I still care, but I care less. It's more, it's kind of in that order. So when, I write something, most of the people I don't know anyway, so now if I had a close friend or a wife, not a wife, my wife, uh, who had read my blog post and took exception to it, I'd be really interested in hearing that. But for the most part, it's just your own expression. It's like an artist that paints a painting. I think some of the best artists didn't paint for somebody else. They did it for themselves, and they didn't get famous until they died because that wasn't why they were doing it. Anyway,
Right. So this same advice thing that you said, switching back to that,
yeah,
I found that pretty interesting because I've gone through like an experience or journey on that. I suppose. Like after transitioning out of the military, going to therapy on the civilian side, they're like, you just need to get outside and exercise. You just need to stop drinking. You just need to go for a walk. It's like, fuck you. Like, you
Right.
know how hard that is?
Right.
But now that I'm in like this different point, like that's exactly what you need to do. That's exactly how easy it is. It's just that advice doesn't work at that time
Right.
because your mind is in a different spot. So I think part of my experience, I don't know if yours was the same, is the the advice itself necessarily isn't bad. It just might not be the right time
Right.
for the delivery.
Yeah, I agree with that because a lot of times there's what I want is somebody to just empathize with me, just understand and or listen. I mean, you don't even have to fucking listen. Just hear me. Just acknowledge me. Sometimes that is the beginning of then, which when you say that out loud, it makes me feel like I'm really super insecure. You know what I mean? But in those moments, I fucking am. You know what I mean? When I'm on the podcast talking to you, or I'm talking with most of the days, most of the time, I'm not insecure about anything. But there are times in my life where I'm really insecure right now, and I just need somebody. So the advice needs to come after I feel, or actually after you made me feel like you heard me, like really fucking heard me, like really took the time to understand. Even if you didn't understand, you took the time to try to understand. And then it's the way you give advice. If you want to give advice, it's the way you give it. Like, oh, just go outside. What? It'd be more like, you know, the empathy thing. Like if you're coming from a space of empathy, it'd be like, I had that same problem, man. I remember that. I remember being exactly where you're at right now, and that fucking hurt really bad. And I struggled. I really struggled with it. But what I really found that helped me out somehow was walking, going outside. That if the advice comes from that, that's a lot different.
It's connection, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
for
where
sure.
like finding the right therapist is important.
Yeah,
And
and
which
and being
sucks because my therapist is leaving.
well, but you'll find another one, because I always put it on myself anyway. Like my wife would never know this if I didn't share it. My friends would never know this if I didn't share it. That's part of that
Right.
transparency thing. Like I can't just expect people just to know what works for me and what doesn't work for me if I've never told them. Like I remember, John Kittleson, he came down. I've told you the story probably, but he was down here, I don't know how long ago that was, but we sat down for breakfast and we're both sitting there and I look over at him and I go, man, I don't like you. And he's like, what? I mean, what? I'm like, oh shit. No, hold on. Let me rephrase that. It's number one, if I don't like you, that's not your problem. You can't own that, right? If I don't like you, that's my problem. That's not your problem. And number two, let me elaborate on this not liking you thing. There's things about you I don't like. And here's what I was thinking when I just said what I said. And I explained it. And it was like, because one of the things I don't like that he was doing all the time, he did this all the time, was he never didn't have an answer for something. He always had a fucking answer. And when I was working on something, he'd be like, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? It's like, fuck you. You know what I mean? I didn't ask for your help. Like while I'm like putting something together, hey, what are you doing? "Oh, I'm putting together this thing. Oh, have you tried this? I'm like, step off, man. You know what I mean? When I want help, I'll ask for it. That's what was pissing me off. And so I shared that with him. He's like, oh, okay, I get it. But if I hadn't shared that, and since then, he doesn't do that to me anymore. And it certainly helped our relationship. It seems like something insignificant, right? But if you
That
just
sounds a lot like your number four. What help looks like is setting boundaries.
yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, let's go through this list. So what doesn't work for me? I'll say it for me because I know there are people that might be listening to this or might listen to this, even you, Matt, that would disagree. Totally cool, man. I mean, what the point of this whole thing is what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And maybe, when you're trying to help somebody else, that maybe you can use this list as kind of a guide. I don't know. But number one, what doesn't work for me is social media therapy. Social media has never made anything in my life better ever.
I mean, for me, you think, or I think it helps, but it's only short term. And then, I mean, you can watch all about it, like you said in
Right.
the documentary. They go into it in depth. Yeah,
Well, there are things I like social media for. I like it for entertainment, but it's definitely not going to get me.
out
It's not
of a
going to get me
funk.
right. No, no, for sure. Number two is toxic positivity. When I'm in a shit, and somebody has the toxic positivity approach where it's like it could be worse. I mean, look at all these great things. Like, stop, smell the roses, take a look. I mean, it's fucking awesome. I mean, why would you ever be upset about everything? You live in paradise. Fuck you.
I
You obviously
think
don't understand the problem that I'm dealing with right now. I understand I've got all those things, but I'm still not happy about something. I don't know what it is.
for me, I think that's another one of those like timing thing, right? If you're being positive, you're just trying to be helpful,
But if you're going to
and it's
come
just not the
positive,
right time.
if you're ever going to bring the positive, you have to at least acknowledge the spot I'm in.
That's a fair ask, yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay, I get it. That does suck.
Yeah,
Now start filtering in some positivity things, and I might buy into that. But
not like trying to compare, like, oh, you got this, you got that. That shouldn't suck. Yeah, that's the wrong approach.
yeah, because oftentimes the way I'll interpret that is that you're minimizing my damn problem.
Hmm.
You're basically telling me that my problem isn't really a problem, and I could buy into that, which then would probably be ignorance. It's probably a problem that's going to come back later, or I'm just sucking it up. I'm not really dealing with whatever the problem is, but I'm sucking it up to tough it out because yeah, it is paradise here. Yes, I love it. Let's do this. Let's go for a walk. But when I'm done with the walk, the shit is still there because I never dealt with it, so it didn't help.
Problems don't disappear.
No.
We still are human.
Yeah, and we're flawed. I mean, we're all fucking
Hmm.
flawed. We're all fucking broken. There's not a single human on the planet that's ever lived besides Jesus that hasn't been broken, in my opinion. If you know somebody, let's meet. I want to learn how that works. So, number three, what doesn't work for me is over reliance on quick fixes. And this is what led oftentimes to my addictive behavior. This would be medicated for me.
Yep,
Yeah, it was a
I would
shitty day.
agree.
It was a shitty day. Let's go to the bar.
Let's go pick up some bottles of wine and try out some new flavors
Right. Right.
because I like the try the different notes, right? Or let's get some different whiskey and try to sip on it, but you can't sip on it. Once it's popped, you gotta drink the whole thing.
Right. Well, and if the paint's bad enough, I don't have time to wait for it to eat. I mean, let's get it over with. Let's finish the pain.
Right.
So, caffeine, weed, booze, busy work, hookups, binge watching, endless scrolling, they numb, they distract. They're not the problem, and they don't fix the problem. They defer it. Oftentimes, they compound it, though. They make it worse.
Binge watching and endless scrolling is where I am stuck right now.
Yeah,
Endless scrolling is getting better since I
my wife
deleted
too. She's over there watching
fucking
TV again.
Twitter again.
She's over there watching TV. She won't come out here and deal with the problem, which is me. Fuck, you need to put a, you know, take care of the problem, not watch TV. So yeah,
So I mean,
uh,
that's just like, I mean, that's being open that, like, everyone has things. You're not necessarily going to be perfect, like we said.
right.
It's okay
Well,
to not be perfect.
and it's important for me in my circle of people that I really rely on all the time to get through things. It's important for me to share the things that work and the things that don't work so that they know. Because believe it or not, my wife really, really loves me. My wife, who's like my, probably my strongest, but also you, also my other friends, they love me. They want to help me. So if I told them these things don't work for me, these things do, I mean, they would all follow that, right? But you have to be transparent. You have to say, you have to share it. And you have to have this like intimate relationship. Like intimate does nothing to do with like some people think intimacy means like sexual shit. That's not at all what it means. Intimacy, if there's a pastor who said to me, intimacy is like into me see.
Hmm.
Like,
Into me, you see. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Internal.
this is me. This is the real fucking me. That's intimate. There's no filters. There's no like, question like, yeah, well, what are you really like? I mean, this is it. What you see is what you get. And so when you have that intimacy with your friends and your friends have your best interests at heart, they're always going to help you. And it's a lifesaver. So anybody who's listening, it's a lifesaver, man. Now there's always going to be problems like when you talk, especially when you talk about mental health. These are the problems that I've dealt with. There are many other mental health challenges that aren't this simple, right? There's what like autism, isn't that one of them? What's the one where uh shoot, it's totally escaping me right now. Narcissism. There's a lot of mental health things, man. Like psychosis. Um, what's the shit? Anyway, there's a whole bunch of them that actually need more than this, right? Where you might need professional help, a professional
Social
diagnosis.
anxiety.
Yeah. And speaking of
ADHD.
that, I'm taking a family member of mine tomorrow to their first ever psychiatrist appointment, and they're nervous. I'm like, I get it. I mean, I've been to psychiatrists before. It's
Yeah.
not the first time you go, but
You
my
you
God,
have to
it's so helpful.
start. You have to create that intimacy. If you're not going to do that, it's not going to be helpful.
Right. Yeah,
And then
totally.
that's scary to do with someone that you don't know.
It is because there's no trust built yet,
Hmm.
right? But you have to start somewhere, and I
Hmm.
give them like all the credit in the world. When you take that step of like admitting that you don't have all your shit figured out, that's a huge acknowledgement. There's so much value in life in just being honest with yourself. You know, I mean, it's one to be honest with others, but it's got to start with honesty with yourself. And when you finally like I told you when I stopped drinking, like when I finally realized that I was the fucking problem, that's when change happened. Otherwise, I'd still be drinking today. I'd still be blaming other people. All right. So what real help looks
All
like
right.
for me? Number one, therapy with the right therapist.
Sometimes it takes time. Don't be
Right.
afraid to ask for a new one.
No. Yeah. If there's not a connection there or something, it doesn't take long usually for that to expose itself, and then you just look for another one, like you said. And the reason why I like therapists or I really appreciate their perspective. Even even though I've got a really strong support group of friends and family, the friends and family are in usually in the shit with me. And when you go to a therapist, it's like a whole nother perspective. It's like the forest from the trees thing or whatever the hell that is
Mm-hmm.
when you're not in the shit. And it's also usually very objective. There's not a lot of bias when a therapist tells me stuff. Whereas, my wife, family member, friend, um, there's some kind of bias, and it's not overt, but it's kind of a hidden bias. They want something from this outcome as well. It's not a bad thing. I mean, we all have biases, but the therapist has much less of a bias for me.
I would agree.
Number two, medication. And I put on here if you need it. This goes back to that self honesty thing. I've had ADHD all my life, and I've had medication for it all my life. That doesn't mean I take the medication every day, right? I take Ritalin. That's the medication I take. And I take it maybe 2 times a week, where, but there are times when I need it more, and there's times when I need it less. So it's that recognizing what's going on with myself, being honest with myself, um, looking at myself in the mirror before I point fingers at other people. That's usually what tells me, yeah, I think I need some of my medication right now, because it does help. It certainly, but I don't want. I'm also fearful of being too reliant on it, too dependent on it. So that's why I try not to take medication unless I absolutely need it. But for like depression, it it's a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Yeah. So, uh, I I go back and forth on the medication thing all the
Hmm.
time because I don't think it's very scientific, and I'm a scientific person. You go in, you see a psychiatrist, and they ask you these questions. It's like scale 1 to 10, blah blah blah. Do the
Right.
things, you talk to them, and they're like, "All right, you need this," and then you go through essentially, which is what I would say is an experiment, testing different things, seeing what works for you. But the whole time, like you said, that it's talking about balancing your brain chemistry. Show me the mental scan, the thing that shows that my brain is not whatever, that I need more SSRI or NSSRI, but they can't
Right.
do that. So it's really like a leap of faith, and as long as it's working to your point. So like I take medication, I take bupropion,
Yeah.
but I'm not fully convinced that I need it because
No.
of the lack of science, I guess.
Well, and for me, the science is me. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
know,
It's you can feel it's working or not, I
yeah,
suppose.
I can, because there are days when things are just I'm not I'm not hitting. I mean, I'm missing continually on, because
The
when
piston's just not going.
no, like when we talked about ADHD, the world was not built for people with ADHD. But a lot of times I can adjust, not fully. It's like it's work, right? But I can function in it. But then there are other days when I can't find it. I can't find the rhythm. I can't find the function. Uh, and so usually and I've got it down now, for me personally, down to a science. It's 30 milligrams of Ritalin, and that gets me usually, because it usually happens about 10 a.m. in the morning. That's when it finally hits that I recognize that, fuck, it ain't working right now. And then Ritalin for 30 milligrams, and that gets me through the rest of the day. Or if there's a 40 milligram time release, that would be better. But it's hard to get time release here. So
Hmm.
that's what works, and that's that's been the thing for years now. Um, So I have no interest in changing it. Because there's occasionally times when doctors or others are like, "Well, have you tried this?" No, I'm cool, man. I mean, I got it dialed in right now. I don't want to change it.
Right. You got your engine tuned, man.
Yeah. So that's how I use medication. It's just the engine's off a little bit. Need to
Maybe
tweak
I'm
some
just too
things.
skeptical about the American healthcare system where they don't really fix anything. That,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Why? And it helps that I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was like
early.
5.
Yeah.
So there's been a long time to figure out the right way to manage it. Not to say that, because I also don't know, like you, man, I don't know all the side effects and everything else of Ritalin and what else it does to me. Um, I'm sure there's something because I don't trust humans well enough to know that they
Right.
get this shit straight. So you do the best you can with what you got. Number three,
All right.
uh, people who don't need me to perform helps. That's where a therapist comes in handy again. There's no dependence on me to get straight and help you. I don't have to perform anything. There's no pressure there. It's just okay. Gloves are off. This is it. Um, that helps a lot. That's why
Just
friends,
be messy,
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
because I do have to explain to my wife sometimes why I talk to my friends at times and I don't talk to her about an issue that I'm having. Usually it's this, it's the performance thing. Because
Right.
eventually I do tell her, but
You have to be a provider and
yeah,
all protector and all that, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's the performance thing, and sometimes it's the empathy thing. If I were to share with her certain issues and struggles that I have in my profession, she cares, but she can't empathize with it. She can't put herself into my shoes on those things. So, that's another reason. All right, number 4, boundaries. Like your life depends on it, because it might. And I suck at this one, but I every time I find myself here, I can go back to it and remind myself, yeah, there's another. You fucked up again on that one. Um, but setting those boundaries, protecting my time, protecting my energy, protecting my peace, that's critical for mental health, especially an ADHD person. Oh my God, because we love chaos. I fucking love chaos. I'm not afraid to admit it. The problem is you do the chaos thing, the other parts of my human body will pay the price for it. I'll burn out.
Yeah.
I'll
It's
burn
like
out.
another
I'll die.
addiction, the dopamine
But
from
it's really
being.
not. I mean, it's an addiction. It's like it's just the home for my brain is chaos, and so without even knowing it, shit, I'm exhausted now. I can't wake up. I can't. You know what I mean? I've lost all energy and motivation, and that's it hits you pretty fast. But that's another. It's usually the failure. The burnout is usually a failure of my boundaries. I didn't. I set the boundaries, but I didn't follow through. I didn't enforce them. Or something, or I didn't tell somebody about the boundaries, and they didn't know. I mean, it always comes. Most of this shit for me and in my opinion comes back to me. I could have done a better job of managing this. So, I don't point fingers at other people for this stuff. Number 5, movement, not punishment. So not like hitting the gym. This job is sedentary. We sit a
A
lot,
lot. Yeah.
and you know that doesn't help. Your body was meant
That's
to move.
good thing about, I mean, the watch tells me to stand up every hour at least. I mean,
Right.
that's pretty helpful. I would forget.
Yeah, the doctor yesterday, after she told me I was fat, then she went and talked about you know high blood pressure, and I've got like borderline high blood pressure, so I for that I'm supposed to be taking losartan. And she's like, "Have you been taking your losartan?" I'm like, "No." And she then proceeded to tell me about what's going to happen to me when I get a stroke,
Mm.
like in detail.
Scare tactics.
I'm like, are you shitting me? Is this really? She's like, yeah. That's why you take. That's why you know. I'm like, okay, fuck, I'll take the Losartan then. But then she also said, so tell me about your job. And I'm like, well, I mean, I work, information security. I work in front of a computer a lot. She's like, oh. I'm like, what does that mean? That's not good. I'm like, well, I'm 54 fucking years old. Do you want me to change careers now? I mean, should I start a construction career? I mean, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do about this. And she's like, no, no, no. You're supposed to walk more. No more than sitting. If you can get into the habit of no more than 30 minutes straight of sit time, break it up every 30 minutes. Even if you have to set an
Oh
alarm every
shit.
30 minutes, get up.
That's not possible.
Even if it's get up and go get a cup of coffee or get up and go take a piss or get up and go
Yeah, that's why I do
something.
try to drink a lot of water. But you
Yeah.
do walk your dogs and shit. You're always moving, man.
Yeah, I do move a lot, but it helps. And this is a big reason. So going back to summarizing this list, if you notice, a lot of these things about what helps for me isn't other people. It's
Mm.
me sharing this with other people and then them coming back to this list and maybe reminding me of these things, maybe noticing things in my life if I've been transparent with them, noticing things in my life where I haven't been following through. So my wife, so let's say I'm struggling with burnout or whatever and it's obvious. My wife, and it would help me to maybe point out you've been working a lot lately, because I shared with her that like that's a thing for me. You know what I mean? So anyway, movement, not punishment. Six, there are times just silence. This is a trigger for me for anxiety, stillness and silence. It's really good for me. I know it, but I get anxiety from it that I
Your
have to
brain don't
overcome that.
like it.
No, no. That's why I can't sit and watch a movie. I can't make it through an entire movie. I could never binge watch TV because I can't. I got to do something. I mean, if I have days that I don't feel like I provided any value or accomplished anything, it's a shitty day for me. Where it shouldn't be like that. My therapist is working hard on me with this. Like, it's okay to not do anything. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do when I'm not doing anything? He goes, you missed the point, Evan. You're not supposed to be doing anything. I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? I don't even know what that is. Like, just sit
Hmm.
here. Yeah, just sit there. Like,
Being content. You've talked about that.
well, I'm content in like my life and my lifestyle, but like, just sit here.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Right. So I enrolled in a meditation
Ooh,
course
nice.
to try to figure this out
I'll send
because
you
it does actually help.
I'll send you a podcast I use sometimes.
All right.
Yeah.
So sitting in silence, turning off the noise. So that does actually help. Shutting down the computers. Um, I'm still not sitting still, but
The
the,
computer gives off fucking white noise and energy
oh, dude,
vibrations and shit. So like,
and not just that, but fuck, man, why do I always have to be reminded about what's going on the other side of the world when I can't do anything about it? It doesn't affect me, yet it's
yes,
taking up my mental cycles.
that
Yeah,
is
what I
another
should be
thing.
focusing on is picking up the dog shit, giving my wife a hug, making sure I ate a meal today. You know what I mean? It's call a friend, see how they're doing. But man, we get bombarded by the news cycles, the social media shit all the time. Holy fuck. You got to turn that off. You have to.
Yeah, man.
If you can't turn it off, I mean, yeah, maybe I just have to be deliberate about it, because, yeah, anyway. So the stillness and silence, if I can figure it out, I'm trying to figure it out. And I know that it does help because when I have found it at times, it has helped me tremendously. But so, and another thing, you know, with my wife, sometimes she'll just leave me alone. She doesn't have to fix me. Sometimes what I need is just be left alone, you know, and check up on me every once in a while. Maybe that. But anyway, bonus other stuff that it's helped me writing shit down, laughing with people who get it, joking about it. I go. That's how I deal with a lot of really uncomfortable situations. I'll make a joke about it. That's a protection mechanism. Turning off notifications, absolutely. I've started ignoring email altogether, like altogether.
That's ballsy, but I like it.
I can't. Yeah,
Well, I imagine just from what you said about your inbox, you can't keep up. So fuck it. Delete.
right.
Start over.
Well, and thankfully, the people that really do need me, they know how to get a hold of me. Outside of that, so turning off notifications, doing one thing instead of 50, that's really hard for an ADHD person. But when I do it, it's super awesome. Like today, for instance, I decided I'm not going to do anything else except for code.
Mm.
That's all I did, and I focused. I mean, it was probably a good 6 hour session of just coding. And when I got done with that and checked in my code, I was like, that felt so good. It just felt really good. It felt good to get deep. It felt good to get focused. It felt good to just one thing. So I don't do that enough. I wish I did because that's I love it. Petting my dog like it's therapy because it is.
Violet.
Yeah, there are times when I just the cool thing is my dogs really love me. So I have five of them, and now after like tough days, I'll just sit sit on the couch and they all attack me, and I just take it in, and they're all licking me, and they're all like Rita's Rita for some reason likes to stick her tongue in my ear, which is weird, but yeah, just take that in. That definitely helps me too. And just admitting I'm struggling before I crash. That's hard for me. But anyway, those are the things, and that's what I wrote in the blog post.
All
And
right.
what
Do
I
you have any truth bombs?
truth bombs? What do you mean?
What's something true about this real help that no one wants to say? If you haven't said it already, anything else
Oh
lingering from what you wrote? Did this bring up anything else? Now that we're revisiting it.
no, well, there are times when yeah, I don't know. It seems there are times when I don't know anything. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just at a loss for everything, kind of thing. Um, and I just sit. I mean, maybe that's the stillness and silence thing because it's more not because I'm deliberately trying to be still and silence. It's because I'm paralyzed.
Mm,
I don't know if you've ever been there before, where it's just I have no motivation to do anything. I have 50 things on my list. I don't know which one I'm supposed to do. I don't know which one I want to do. So I just get overwhelmed and I just sit there.
don't even want to get out of bed. I've
Hmm.
had that before.
Yeah. How about you?
Mm, I don't have anything else. I think for me, the biggest thing with this is it's not the same for everybody, and it's
No,
not always the right
it's not.
time for like advice. And I think that's what you mentioned before. Like, listen, don't try to like solve it right away
Yeah.
or judge it or
Yeah.
minimize. There you go. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think trying to keep those few things in mind is helpful.
Yeah.
But no one's perfect either.
No.
So,
No. And hopefully in any of this, I didn't sound like I had it all figured out because I don't. It's like, and that's probably one of my biggest fears is feeling like I got it figured out because I know that as soon as I feel like I've got it figured out, some shit's gonna hit me hard. So I try to stay humble in that. Like, Keep my eyes open, situational awareness, do my best, do my best not to have expectations for myself or anybody else. Because when I set expectations, I set myself up for disappointment. And so just try to take every day and do the best I can with what I got today. And my dad gave me really good advice. He said a real man should go to bed exhausted every night. And so
Do
it's
you
not,
think you carry that a lot?
yeah, I think I do. But he was also very clear that that doesn't necessarily mean accomplishment every day. It was that you gave your best every day. You worked your ass off every day and you went to bed exhausted. So sometimes I get that mixed up because I think, especially in the business world and competition and all that stuff, you try to get shit done when sometimes the things, because I've noticed that too. Like I'll get a whole bunch of shit almost done, and then all of a sudden 50 things get done. I mean, it's like it comes in like bunches. Maybe it's an ADHD thing. I don't know. But yeah, and what I would encourage anybody who's listening is be honest with yourself. Come up with your own list of things that don't help you and things that do help you, just like I did. And then if you have a support group, support structure, share it with them. If you don't have a support structure, well, then let's work on getting one, right? And then sharing these things so that they know, because they might come along thinking that they're helping and they're not helping, and you're mad at them, they're mad at you because they're trying to help and it's not helping. You know what I mean? It's avoid all that shit and just get honest, right? Make your own list, and share it with people.
It's a good idea.
Because you're right. I mean, for me to think, and that's why I wanted to start this podcast off with, for me to think that my list is going to work for you, maybe some of the things might work for you, but you're a different person. You got different, you may or may not have ADHD. You've got different personalities, different likes, different backgrounds. I mean, you're just a different person, right? So this list may not work for you.
Some people get energy from people and they recharge being around people. Some people
That's not me,
recharge
right?
alone. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm an introvert. When I'm around people, I get exhausted. It's not that I don't like them. I may not like them, but it's more that I'm just tired. That's how it works. All right, that was a good episode. Did you find value in tonight's talk?
I did. I enjoy. Um, now, the challenge that I've run into, right? You said,
Mhm.
well, here, think about the things. Well, right now I want to, but I more than likely won't because that's work and stuff I don't want to uncover. So
Yeah,
I think about it like in the moment right now, process it, but I don't write. So it's almost like it's just in one. Maybe that's what they mean when they say in one ear, out the other. That's maybe that's something to think about.
what's that? That you
Interesting.
that you didn't process it?
Well, like I'm processing it now, but I didn't write it down. I didn't
Mm,
do the work, and it's just like gone. Maybe that's what that means. Maybe I
mm.
always thought it meant you're not listening, but I am. Maybe it's just not doing the follow up work. Hmm.
Yeah, well, it's a
Inter-
maturing process, man. I mean, you learn shit as you go. You make mistakes. You try to adjust. You know, it's it's just like a process. It's never a destination either. It's never like, oh, I finally figured this shit out. It's just you just keep learning,
May peace be the journey. Cool runnings.
right? And I think try to be that person for somebody else. Try to be, you know, a lot of times you're going to get more in return than what you gave, right? But if you start with giving, you know, you get a lot, in return. So think about the people like we've been saying in the other, episodes that led up to this one. Check in on your friends. You know, have discussions. I mean, if they're truly friends and you're, like close, why couldn't you talk about things like this? Like, hey man, when you're in a shit spot, what things help you? What things don't help you? So that I can play the game right. You know, is that off limits for us to talk about in our relationship? It shouldn't be. I mean, if they're truly a friend or a spouse, maybe family member, your therapist. I mean, ask your therapist or have your therapist ask you, these questions. Because it's a great exercise. I know it was for me. It helped me really internalize and process. Like, yeah, what does help me? I don't think I fucking told anybody this before. You know, it's a good process. All right. So next week we've got masculinity and mental health.
Hmm.
We're we're masculiniters, aren't we?
Masculinator,
Masculinity.
masculinator, masculinitar. Hmm.
Are we gonna have
Interesting.
a? Let's have Steve back.
I added him to my calendar invite, so I actually chatted with him today.
Yeah.
He had something going on, so he has the invite now, so we can plan on him being here every week, and I will work to keep him accountable. No,
Yeah,
it won't
because
be
he's
every week,
awesome. He's
but
got a great perspective on a lot of this shit.
yeah, it's good dude, man.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll try
Don't
to add
forget to
something.
read.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't forget to read the blog. It's down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Uh, keep paying attention. Evan will be dropping more unfiltered truths every week.
Truths. More unfiltered truths.
Hmm.
All right. Good episode, man.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Pow
It's
pow.